I have 5 minutes of recording time, so I'm going to keep this brief. 1 week ago marked the 80th anniversary of the Red Army's liberation of the Auschwitz concentration and death camp, and as such was marked Holocaust Remembrance Day. This is a video that is partially about Palestine, but it's also a video that is about fascism and how to prevent a Holocaust. People are very discouraged right now. There are horrific things happening all across the world, and there are horrific things happening in America and in our own country. And we need to not be discouraged. When it comes to doing demonstrations, if you know much about history or if you know about what militarized police forces do, they use protests as an opportunity to kill protesters. That is what the American police are really good at doing. You should engage in acts of civil disobedience, and you should keep your hope alive, and you should continue working towards the liberation of all people. But right now, on Palestine, is a time to save your powder and live to fight another day. I'm not saying that you stop talking about Palestine, but right now is the time for you to be maintaining your rifle and ensuring that everything works and that your magazines are in good working order. Now is not the time to pack your bullets or go and start a fight. What I mean by this is that this is a time to talk to liberals, to talk to people who are largely uneducated on the issue of Palestinian liberation, as well as on fascism and on the Holocaust. This is your opportunity to educate people and to convince people of the stakes of the times in which we're currently living. This is not a time to sit idly and do nothing, but this isn't the time to put yourself in the position for the state to use repressive violence against you. And I would like to address things with Trump versus Biden and versus Harris on Palestine. We did not believe that Trump would be, quote unquote, better on Palestine than on Joe Biden. I do believe that there are certain things that Trump is doing that could create the long-term conditions for Palestinian liberation and self-determination. So the things that the Trump administration has just suggested are relocating all of the Palestinians and having that turn into U.S.-owned and U.S.-occupied land. That is a horrific thing. Countless will die because of it, but also Palestine is largely unlivable. Gaza is unlivable, and the West Bank is torture, and it is horrific what the Israelis are doing to them. If Gaza is occupied or owned by the United States, and we take control of our own country, and we are able to put forth a political nominee that is willing to stop the policy of slow genocide that America has enacted upon the Palestinian people and supported, then that could be good. Us physically owning Palestine could create the condition where we get a democratic president that is not bought and sold by the Israel lobby, who says we are going to return this land. But for right now, the things that need to be done is to convince people that this is not a fringe issue. This is not a frivolous issue. The United States policy in the third and developing world absolutely relates back to how the United States treats its own citizens. And when you create the opportunity for militarized police forces and for fascist paramilitaries to kill and maim and dispossess people in other countries, you also create the machinery and the equipment for that exact same infrastructure to be used against your own neighbors and our own people here in America. That's why people were protesting Cop City. That's why people were protesting during Black Lives Matter. And that's why those same people were protesting against the United States foreign policy as it related to Palestine. Going back to the precarity of our political environment and the times which we're currently living in, it needs to be beaten into people, and it needs to be shouted from the rooftops to every Democrat rank and file that this political moment is not a crisis of leftism. This political moment is not a crisis of worker empowerment. This is a crisis of American liberalism, and this is a crisis of the Democratic Party. A lot of the issues that we are currently struggling with, and a lot of the crises that we are currently struggling with, are because of the fundamental inconsistencies of the allegedly Democratic Party. When you are in power in two of the three branches of government, and 66% of the population says we do not approve of America's foreign policy regarding Israel and Palestine, and then you choose to continue with business as usual, and you do not offer people an off-ramp to what they see as a Holocaust happening before their own eyes, you are going to be punished electorally for that. And it is absolutely critical that we do not and did not lose this election to somebody who is like Donald Trump. When you have things that are overwhelmingly popular and the government tells you, nope, this can't happen, it's impossible for anything other than the status quo and what's presently happening to continue, you are going to see people become discouraged, you're going to see people become more radical and extreme, and you're going to see many people turn to fascism as an out for what they see as an inescapable and oppressive political moment, and as a political moment where they are unable to effect change. Sometimes people are willing to see everything burn if it means that the people who they feel have wronged them are able to suffer as well. And it must be explained to the Democratic Party that we are not naturally friends. You know, we are good weather friends. We are committed fully to fighting fascism. And we want whatever party is in the position of opposing fascism on the federal level to be able to do that job as effectively as they can. But we will not sit idly by and allow the Democratic Party to lose another winnable election to the likes of Trump and cast the country into a downward spiral of chaos. We are not subservient to the Democratic Party. Trans people, gay people, black people, and minorities and oppressed people of all colors and stripes are not subservient to the party. We are not somebody who is held hostage by a political party. We are people who have needs and interests that we are asserting that need to be represented. And if our needs and interests are not being protected by the party with which we are currently aligned, then we will not align with that party, and we will go and we'll start our own club. That's not good for the country. Certainly not good for the country to not have a unified opposition, but unless the Democratic Party is willing to drop these things that are fundamental deal breakers for the communities they are supposed to be representing and protecting, then this moment will continue, and it will be to the detriment of every person.